The official history of Cherbourg started in 1904 when the Queensland government decided to set up communities such as Cherbourg and set them up in what they call in a protectionism. They grabbed hold of people against their wishes and brought them down here, and it was under what we call then old-fashioned, we used to call it the Act. I think there were people who resented being taken away from their cultural lands and being brought to another place which they knew nobody. But over the years we have developed then into a very strong community of Cherbourg. But that's only been because people have gotten rid of old biases, and in a lot of cases, sadly, a lot of their culture is being lost, and they become then the community of Cherbourg. But I think in the early days, it would have been terrible. I think the real challenges for Cherbourg today come from today's environment and today's world environment, which seems to impact on a small community like Cherbourg. You know, sadly, the problems with alcohol, problems with drugs, we have a real terrible problem here with abuse of volatile substance and stuff like that. So, and it's all those things. Domestic violence again raises its ugly head again here on this community. So it's all those sort of outside influences and pressures that impact on this community, and our community suffers from it. Well, the Queensland Reds program, I first heard of it when my grandson was studying at Morris College Ashgrove in Brisbane. My first thought was he was a Reds recruiting players. But over the years I've found out that it's way more different than that. They could have walked away from this program 4 or 5 years ago when they were in competition with the NRL and the AFL. But to their credit, they stuck at it, and I think they changed their direction, and they're focused now their direction on leadership. If there's one thing this community of Cherbourg needs, is good leaders.
So the Future Indigenous Leaders program is part of our wider Queensland Reds Indigenous programs looking at try on to career support of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in Australia, and incentivising education outcomes and employment outcomes in particular. Looks to identify potential leaders of tomorrow in our young Aboriginal people, particularly in those communities. So we identify Year 6 students who show academic leadership or achievement despite adversity in their own backgrounds. We're able to incentivise kids to make the positive right choices where they're in a community or in a background where peer pressure maybe push them towards the wrong choices. So by incentivising the right choices, attending school, behaving in class, and setting and achieving their goals, we can take them along and meet our players who provide that aspirational piece around, you know, guys that have for a long time been chasing their own goals and finally achieved what they need to achieve, and obviously to experience our match day at Suncorp Stadium with 25,000-30,000 people, and to play at half-time, and those things really incentivises these kids to continually make those right choices. So while we use the game of rugby, it's not so much about their ability to play the game, it's about demonstrating the values that everyone in Australia and around the world value about rugby, and that's commitment, leadership, teamwork, pride, and culture. And obviously culture in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people is a real connection for them in their own well-being, and culture in a rugby team breeds success as well. So they're the values and the attributes we're trying to promote, and they're the things that we look for in the participants of our program.
Some of our students choose to go to boarding school, not because they necessarily want to leave community or their home, but they want to seek out different opportunities. And the transition into boarding school for some students is really easy. They know that's what they want to do and they've been prepared for it for years. For others, it's something they've thought about, but they haven't necessarily had the support mechanisms in place. That's where we can come in and we can help them.
Well, I first met Chloe a couple of years ago, and from what I understand, she's been helping support at the Cherbourg school. There was a lot of support when they recognised something in Puffin and said, I think you'll be good for boarding school, and helped me with the forms and got them all filled out, helped me to get Puffin to the interviews, and it's just been fantastic support from them.
The Reds program is a wonderful thing to me, and it's gonna get me into a great place. I'm proud to be in this program. I did a good job to get in this program and to achieve this place. My brother is also in this program because he done well through school and kept attending 100% at school, and I'm so proud of him. Now he's at boarding school and I miss him, and I'm wishing to go with him.
My son, from where he was to the end of his primary education, he had the hugest smile on his dial at the end of his primary education. And now he's in boarding school, and yeah, he's just reaching for the stars. And I think that's what Queensland Reds are all about, you know, is to show our children that, you know, the stars are exactly the limit, but you can reach further if you want to.